So last year I had promised to make hero guides for every hero in the game. And if you look back at them now, you'll get a good laugh out of them because they've aged horribly and are very outdated. Anyways, I realized I never made one for my favorite hero in the game, Raider, so that's what we're going to do today. And now since there's a bunch of new players floating around out there, I'm going to include some of the basics too. Raider is a Vanguard hero who does the damage of a heavy. You can sometimes kill opponents in 2 combos, and his biggest strength in my opinion is his great dodge, stunning tap, and throw. Raider doesn't have access to a bash or a kick, so cracking open turtles can be an issue sometimes. Raider is a pretty good team fighter. He can interrupt attackers and drag them away with Stampede Charge, and his combo zone forces reactions out of opponents. Anyway, I want to touch on a lot of points today, so let's get right into it. So Raider has 3 basic chains, each of them having their own utility. The triple light chain is pretty slow to just straight up engage enemies with, so I use it to poke opponents out of slow attacks or use it to engage a backpedaling enemy. The tracking on the second light in the chain is pretty good, and you can catch some opponents with it or close a distance and pop your zone attack. The next chain is his triple heavy, which you'll be using a lot more than you think now that parry changes are in effect. The heavies are also slow, but can be cancelled out of at any time with a stunning tap. The stunning tap is a good tool, but try not to use it too much because if your opponent plays good defense, it grants a light parry and you'll end up eating damage for no reason. You want to try and make your opponent guess when you're going to throw it out, so it's okay to let those heavies fly. Each landed heavy does really good damage, and a blocked heavy does 8 damage, which will add up during the fight. And his final chain is his heavy light heavy chain. I primarily use this one when I whiff my first attack since the tracking on the second light is really good. It also catches people off guard if you've been conditioning them with the previous 2 chains, and is really good for putting pressure on your opponent when they're out of stamina. Now with all the chains, I highly suggest you delay them, so wait a little before you attack again and they'll come out a little faster. Next I want to talk about his zone attack. A lot of people feel that Raider kinda got nerfed with the parry changes, and while it may be true you don't get a wall splat off of almost every parry anymore, it makes your zone safer than it was. The zone counts as a heavy, meaning it's not as risky throwing it out anymore since the trade usually is in your favor. The zone from neutral does 28 damage and takes half of your stamina, and while it does have its uses, comboing it just outdoes it to me. A combo zone does 50 damage and puts a lot more pressure on your opponent with that huge amount of damage. So you can throw out the zone at any time, either from neutral or in a combo. And from the zone, you have a couple options. You can either let the zone fly, feint it and guard break, feint it and do nothing, or stunning tap. Now, the most risky thing you can throw out is the stunning tap, and the safest thing you can do is feint it and do nothing. And deciding what to do after you throw out your zone is entirely up to you and how your opponent has been playing. You want to try and read what your opponent is going to do. If you know he's going to dodge under it, feint it and guard break. If he loves going for parries, throw out the stunning tap. It's up to you. Just know that the zone will drain your stamina, so keep that in mind and try not to run yourself out of stamina. As if you run out of stamina as you throw your zone, odds are you'll get parried and have half of your health taken away. In team fights, the zone is really good to feint. I usually don't let it fly unless my opponent is stuck in recovery or being destroyed by crowd control. The way the indicators work when you're being ganked is really weird. It tries to only display what will hit you next, and unblockables sometimes just fly under the radar. So when you throw it, it'll usually force your opponent to make a move and open himself up for getting hit. Now I want to focus on the stunning tap for a second. As I said earlier, if your opponent can play defense and can parry well, the stunning tap can be parried on reaction. It's not too fast and it always comes from up top. That being said, there are people who simply can't deal with it at all. You can throw the stunning tap out from dodging in any direction except backwards, or you can soft feint it during a heavy. If you land it, your opponent will be stunned for a little bit with their HUD being gone, and this is when you're in complete control of the situation. So after the stunning tap, you have 5 options. You can either do nothing and guard break, although this can be easily countered. You can throw out a light attack or throw out a heavy, and from that heavy you can either let it fly or go into another stunning tap. And finally, you can go into a zone. Now again, it's up to you to decide what you're going to do, but I usually like to see what my opponent will let me get away with. I try to let my opponents get used to a pattern and then go against it, and if I manage to confuse them, I can continue to keep switching it up. If you mix your heavies and stunning taps up effectively, you can sometimes take 80% of their health away before you even run out of stamina. So let's talk about Raiders' dodge and guard breaks next. Starting with the dodge. So Raiders' dodge counters almost all bash or guard break mix-ups if you dodge at the right time, like Warden's shoulder bash mix-up. You can dodge right after you see him charging up his bash, and if he cancels it into a guard break, you can still counter that guard break. The thing is, you usually have to commit to countering it, so just mash your guard break button the moment you see the guard break indicator. If you try and sit there and time it, you'll get caught. You can also throw out the stunning tap off that dodge too, and it has some good tracking, so Shinobi's kick and Shaman's quick pounces are completely shut down by it. You can also guard break while dashing forward or to the sides to catch opponents like Shinobi's double and quad dashes or pesky assassin back dodges if you time it right. If you manage to land a guard break, you have a couple options. You can throw out a regular zone to finish off low health opponents with an execution, or you can throw. If you throw forward, you'll carry them. This drains a little more than half their stamina if you can carry them the whole way, and takes a little bit of yours. If you let go of them or carry them the whole way, you'll get a guaranteed stunning tap to begin your mix-up, which also takes more of their stamina. If they're at bare minimum stamina, the stunning tap will reset their stamina to about 10 or 15%, so keep that in mind. The carry takes them in a linear path, but will throw them toward a ledge if need be, so if you're a little bit off and you're heading toward a wall, just let go of the throw and it'll kind of slide your opponent off the wall and they'll fall off the ledge. If you do run your opponent into a wall, you'll knee them in the face, dealing damage and granting you a free light attack. Now I have to say, if you're low on stamina, don't do anything after the knee, just reset back to neutral. Throwing out a light attack is unsafe unless you follow it up with another light attack. If you throw out a single light attack, you can be guard broken, and if you throw out a light attack and then zone attack, you can also be guard broken. The knee is only safe if you throw out 2 light attacks or do nothing. Now, if you choose to throw to the sides or backwards, you get nothing for free unless you have them hit a wall. If you're too close to the wall, nothing is guaranteed except a light attack. If you throw them and there's distance between you and the opponent, you get a free side heavy, and if you throw your opponent and they hit a wall at the very edge of your throw distance, you get a free top heavy. And while we're on the subject of throws, let's talk about his out of stamina punishes. So if you guard break your opponent while they're out of stamina, you have to throw them backwards, then go into a stunning tap, into a zone attack. If there's a wall nearby, you can throw them into it, get a free heavy attack, and then zone attack, which will do 90 damage. If you parry an opponent while they're out of stamina, you get a light attack and a zone attack as well. One more thing I want to touch on is playing while unlocked. Personally, I don't like doing this, but I do want to talk about it. Since Raider has Stampede Charge, you can unlock from your opponent and sprint towards them. From there, you can either do a Stampede Charge, go for an attack, or do nothing and wait for a dodge to get a free guard break. If your opponent has a quick light attack or zone, this sometimes can be negated, or they can just stand there and wait for an attack and dodge the charge, since it's so much slower after its nerf. Lastly, I want to talk about his defense really quick. So he has full guard, so blocking isn't that bad at all. Parrying for Raider is pretty weak though, without the free guard break. Off of a heavy parry, you get nothing but a plain old light attack, and off of a light parry, you get a free side heavy. Most of your guard breaks now will be coming off of dodging your opponent's attacks and guard breaking them during their recovery. Overall, Raider is a pretty solid hero. He's nice to have on your team in group fights, but lacks a little bit when it comes to duels if your opponent can block and parry. He also has the worst customization in the game in my opinion, but his high damage output makes up for that. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. It's been a really long time since I've done a guide, and I think this might be the longest one I've done so far. So tell me if the guide was helpful at all and if you learned anything. And as always, if you liked the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.
Untitled